idea of sales make you feel a little icky? Like, you need to book clients, but the thought of selling just feels uncomfortable. Like, if that's the case, you are not alone. In fact, one of our sleep consultant graduates, Lisa, felt the exact same way. She was doing 4 or 5 calls a week with exhausted parents, but at the end of these calls, she'd hear things like, I just need to think about it, or then nothing. So no bookings, no follow-ups. And she thought maybe the problem was her. Maybe she was saying the wrong thing. Maybe her pricing was off. But actually, she was just making one simple mistake. And once she fixed it, once she started using the 4-step process that I'm about to share with you today, everything changed. And within weeks, she'd gone from hearing crickets to signing 3 new clients. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how she did it. And by the end, you're going to have a clear, simple framework for discovery calls that feels good and actually works. And if you're interested in building an impactful sleep consultancy business, one that changes lives and makes an income and makes you feel good, then please do click the link below to speak to one of us. Okay, confession time. So I used to be terrible at sales. I really did. The whole thing felt pushy, and I thought I just had to convince people, and I'd spend like 20 to 30 minutes explaining everything I did, all the things I offer, all my credentials, thinking that that's what was needed, until one of my mentors who works with business owners on the sales side of things listened to a call of mine. And he said within 5 minutes, you are making this way harder than it needs to be. You're talking way too much. And I was like, wait, what? Isn't that the point of a call, to explain how I can help? And that's when he introduced me to the 70-30 rule, where you need to talk 30% of the time or less and listen 70% of the time. Because when parents book a call with you, they don't want a lecture. They want someone who listens, someone who gets it, someone who helps them feel heard, probably for the first time in a long time. And imagine going to a doctor with chronic back pain, and instead of asking about your symptoms, they immediately list out every treatment option they offer. It'd feel a little overwhelming, but a good doctor, well, they would ask a few questions, they would listen, and then they'd offer a diagnosis and a clear path forward. And that's exactly what you're doing on a discovery call. You're not pitching, you're diagnosing. You're not convincing, you're actually just guiding. Because here's where so many sleep consultants get stuck. You're on a call with a tired parent, you ask, what's your biggest sleep challenge right now? And they say, my baby wakes up 3 times a night. And you nod, you empathize, and you jump into how you can help. But that surface level struggle isn't what gets people to invest. They take action when they feel the weight of the problem in their life. That's why this framework exists. It exists to help you move beyond surface symptoms and guide the conversation where it really matters most. Okay, so before we jump into the nitty-gritty, drop a comment below. Like, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to discovery calls? Or what are you worried about the most? Is it knowing what to say? Talking about money? Feeling like you're feeling pushy? Let me know in the comments. All right, so step 1 of this framework is about finding out what their struggles are. So this is where most calls start, and honestly, where most coaches stop. So you ask, what's your biggest sleep challenge right now? And you'll hear things like, bedtime takes 2 hours, naps are all over the place, we're up every hour, whatever it is. And it's totally valid, but it's surface level. So if you stop there, you're going to be offering solutions before you really understand the problem. So what do you do instead? You pause and you ask yourself, what's actually beneath that? Because behind every my baby wakes up 3 or 6 times a night is something deeper that matters way more, which leads me to step 2, which is finding the root cause of the pain. So understanding why this is happening. The thing is, parents often don't know what's actually causing the problem. They know the symptoms. So she wakes up 6 times a night, or he won't nap unless he's in the pram. But the why? Well, that's where you come in. That's your zone of genius. So this is where you gently get curious, where you ask, well, why do you think this is happening? How long has it been going on? And then let the silence do the work. Silence is so powerful. So let's say they respond with, 12 months. Then you may acknowledge that and say, that's a long time. And then you pause again, because for many parents, this is the first time they've actually processed that. So instead of rushing to the next question, we let that sit, because now they're not just thinking about today, they're thinking about an entire year of broken sleep. And that's when the conversation shifts in a big way, which brings us to step 3, where we move from what's the issue to how is this impacting you? So to give an example, to dig deeper, I might say, how is this affecting you personally? What's this doing to your energy, your patience, your relationships? And this is where the call becomes real. For example, a parent might start with, well, I'm just really tired. But when you dig deeper, they may start saying, I feel like I'm failing as a parent. My partner and I fight all the time because we're exhausted, and or, I can't focus at work because I'm worried it's affecting my job. And you see the difference? We've gone from my baby won't sleep to I feel like I'm failing as a parent. And that's why they're actually here. That is what they need help solving. So now you help them connect the dots. So right now they're thinking, I'm tired today. But if you ask, if nothing changes, what does life look like in 3 months from now? What about 6 months from now? And then you let that hang, because now they're imagining, still dreading bedtime every single night, still snapping at their partner, still feeling like they're failing. And that's when the decision to invest isn't about fixing sleep. It's about reclaiming their life, their relationships, their sanity. And that's how discovery calls stop feeling salesy, because they see the solution for themselves. All right, so let's look at our final steps, step 4, and talk about how to move from a great conversation to then becoming a client without it feeling a little weird. So one of the biggest mistakes I see on discovery calls is someone suddenly switching gears and pitching. So they go from a real connected conversation to, so my package includes 3 calls, a sleep diary analysis, and a custom plan. And you can feel the energy shift. So the parent has just felt heard and understood, and now they feel like they're being sold to. And that's when hesitation creeps in. So instead, the goal is to make this feel like the natural next step. So you're not pitching, you're simply continuing the conversation. Now, before you say a word about your package, check in with them. Say something like, does this sound like something you'd like to fix? And why this works is that if they say yes, well, they're emotionally committing to solving the problem. And if they hesitate, that's okay. You know they need more clarity before you move into the offer. And then you're going to follow up with, well, would it be helpful if I walked you through how we can do that together? And now they're choosing to hear the offer. It's their decision, not something being pushed onto them. In fact, asking for permission is such a powerful way to not be salesy, but also just to be respectful. So now that they've said yes, you want to frame your offer as the natural next step. So instead of saying what your service offers, what you're going to do is you're going to summarize what they have shared. For example, you might say, so based on the fact that your little one is waking up 5 to 6 times a night, how exhausted you are, and how this is affecting your work and your relationships, here's what I'd recommend. And you state the package, the solution. And now this works because you're linking your offer directly to the pain points that they've shared. You're reminding them why they need help. You're making this about them and not about what you do. And so this makes the transition make sense. They don't feel like they're being sold to. They feel like they're being helped, and they are being helped. Okay, so next up, you can move to how your offer, so your service, can support them. But what's key here is that instead of listing features, you need to connect every part of your package to a real benefit that they care about. So instead of saying, you get 3 one-to-one calls, a personalized plan, tech support for 4 weeks, you'd say something like, so here's how we'll do this together. First, we'll go through your exact sleep struggles so you can get super clear on what's causing these wake ups. And that way, we're not just guessing at solutions, we're creating a plan that's tailored to your child's needs. And then I'm going to create a custom plan that works for your family and your little one's sleep needs. And to make sure everything is working, you're going to have my support for the next 4 weeks. So you're never going to be left wondering, am I doing this right? You're going to have real-time guidance to adjust as needed. And this works because it feels like a story, not a sales pitch. Each feature is tied to the outcome that they actually want, and it makes the process feel simple and clear. So now that they know the package that's going to help them, they need a clear next step, which would be talking about price. So you could say the price for this package is X, and we can get started as soon as, and then you state the date. And then you say, how does that sound? You check in. So why does this work? Well, here I'm stating the price confidently, no hesitation, no justifying. And there's also a clear timeline. So they know exactly when things are going to start. And when you end with an open-ended question, it gives them space to say yes or bring up more concerns. And that's absolutely fine if they have those concerns. So there you have it, the 4 steps to booking more clients from discovery calls. And I really hope this video helps you see that discovery calls aren't about selling. They're about real conversations where you get to listen, you get to guide, and you get to support someone who's already looking for help. Like, no pressure, no convincing, just connection, clarity, and service. And if you're interested in becoming a sleep consultant, learning not just how to deeply serve your clients, but also how to build a thriving business, then we would love to support you. So click the link below to book a call with one of our team members, and let's talk about what's possible for you. And of course, if you found this helpful, do hit that like and subscribe button. See you in the next video.